wedding day, and everything's going absolutely perfect. Obviously, the bride needs to start a lot earlier. She's just about finishing her hair, and typically when we get at that stage, we'll start getting the groom ready. He's putting his pants on and we realize it is short and tight. He tries his shirt and it doesn't fit either. Like, everything in his garment bag does not fit him. He had his last fitting and he went to pick up the tux. I'm like, did you try it when you picked it up? No, it was the wrong tux. None of the groomsmen tux fit him. Best thing to do at that point is we gotta go buy a tux. People usually go shopping and they're like, like trying to find what they want. And here we are, like literally like two crazy people. Like, where is the dress shirts? He's so picky, but I don't like the length of this, but I don't like the fit. I want it high-waisted. I want the collar to be like that. This is too white. I ordered ivory cream. I'm like, listen. At this point, we just need to buy something and we need to go. We end up buying like 8 shirts, 6 different tuxes. I'm like literally pulling him out of the mall. He's like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what I wanted to look on my wedding day. I think we have to postpone. I'm like, we're not gonna postpone your wedding because you got the wrong tux. We go back. So the bride is practically ready. Once she saw him and the first look happened, she's like, babe, is this the tux? Like, it looks kind of different. We're like, oh, no. Like, it's probably just the lighting. You know, obviously, the day went by, they were happy. Like, no one even cared at the end. All I have to say is, please try on your tux when you pick it up.
So for this particular wedding, it took place at like a really nice kind of funky hotel in West Hollywood. Beforehand, I had some issues with the mother of the bride because they were trying to cut corners and cut costs anywhere that they could. They had a higher guest count. I told her, you know, you're gonna have to hire extra staff, you're gonna have to hire extra bartenders. People are gonna line up at the bars during cocktail hour and it's gonna be a line and no one's gonna have fun with that. But she decided against that. So on the wedding day, of course, the bars were super backed up because after the ceremony, what do people wanna do? Drink. And so she started literally going up to the bartenders and grabbing them and being like, bring water, bring wine. And at one point she smacked a server, which is assault. We had to pull her aside to be like, this is assault. Please don't do this. Obviously that was not the tone I took because on the day I'm like, can you please not do that? People almost were going to press charges. It got that bad. We almost had to take the mother of the bride and, you know, remove her from the wedding day, but obviously that would be awful and something that she would never forget and the bride would never forget. So I was able to talk down the venue manager. I persuaded him with some alcohol later and said I would buy you cocktails if you please just let this mother of the bride chill out and take a breath and take a breather. But essentially we just like put a smile on her face. I asked her to come with me. I asked her to take a deep breath, let her know that we will have extra bartenders on staff to make things go more efficiently. Moral of the story is do not assault servers, just hire extra staff.
It's 2 days before the wedding. We finish everything very early on, and I really try to give them that last week to enjoy. It's your time to go to the spa, relax. I'm not gonna bother you, and I don't want you to bother me either. Everything's absolutely perfect, and I'm gonna see you on your wedding day. So I get a call, this time it's not from the bride, I get a call from her mother-in-law, and I haven't ever heard from the mother-in-law. Like, she's not been involved in the planning process. She didn't come to any meetings. I literally met her the day they booked me and I never saw her again. She's like, we have a problem. I heard that you guys are having lavender color flowers. And I'm like, yeah? She's like, I hate lavender. Lavender flowers was something that we discussed like last year. And she's like, well, lavender is dark, lavender is sad, lavender doesn't mean good things, yellow means prosperity, yellow has good meaning. Why didn't anyone consult with me? I should have chosen the flowers. 10 minutes later, I get a call from the bride. There is no way I'm changing the colors of my flowers. I told you the day I hired you, I love lavender flowers. I'm like, listen, don't worry, this happens all the time. We're not changing anything. No worries. It's the wedding day and everything's getting set up, and then I see a vendor loading in that like is not one of our vendors. The next thing I see like a cart rolling in by their workers with like tons of yellow flowers. And they're like, hey, we're the florist. We're here to bring the flowers. And I'm like, I mean, the flowers are like basically done. They're like, I've been hired by She said it's her son's wedding and we're bringing in the flowers. This lady obviously didn't listen to anything anyone said or anything the bride wanted. She went and hired a different florist to bring the color flowers that she likes. She ordered tons of these yellow flowers. I'm like, listen, I'll take care of it. Just please leave the flowers here. Thank you guys so much. A little bit later, the mother-in-law walks downstairs. She's like, oh my God, everything looks great. This way everyone can be happy. I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, yeah, the yellow flowers are gonna go on my tables and those are gonna be for my guests. And I'm like, my florist is not gonna let another florist to mix in flowers. This is not how this works, honey. She's babbling on and on. No, but I ordered them. I thought this way everybody can be happy. Like, I get the yellow, she gets, not about what you get, what she gets. This isn't kindergarten. At that point, like, her hairstylist is calling her to like retouch her hair and makeup. She's so concerned about that. She leaves. She's like, you make sure to get it on those tables. I'm like, okay. As wedding planners, we have to build that harmony. I had the hotel put it in like the big table they have when you enter the lobby. She was happy. I mean, she came and she's like, it's the first thing they see. Thank you. She thought we're like honoring her. And I guess it all worked out.
So little things happen at every single wedding. I feel like, you know, one bad thing might happen at each wedding. There was this one wedding that I did where there were these little instances where I was like, what's going on? At the rehearsal, I was lining everyone up, doing the processional, and this little boy punched me in the He literally just came up to me and was like, It was the weirdest thing. The bride is a friend of mine. She was horrified, but the boy's mom didn't say anything. She just was kind of like, not a big deal because I'm fine, but whatever. This wedding was taking place in Santa Barbara at this adorable kind of like country, you know, outdoor venue. So a lot of times at outdoor venues, there's the added cost of knowing that you might have to rent a tent if the weather forecast is not good. These clients did not rent a tent. And because they did not rent a tent, of course it rained. It was literally all outdoors. There was nowhere that people could go indoors. I felt so bad for the guests because everyone was literally holding napkins above their head. There was one woman that was like holding a napkin over her head and who I assume was her date was like feeding her food. It was so awful. And then at the end of the night, dances are done, everyone's good and schwasty, and we had hired vans because this is kind of like a very windy road and of course we don't want anyone to drive drunk. When the vans arrived to take 100+ guests back into town to their hotels, we smelled something and we were like, what's that? And then I had a conversation with the drivers and I was like, oh, you're for sure high. Of course, they're fired and they can't drive people because it's a huge liability. One of the groomsmen was a sheriff, so he wanted to like press charges and like get these people arrested. Luckily, we were able to be like, hey, let's just end the night. It was a fantastic night. So I was like, who can I get, who is sober, who can drive all these people back to town? There was a restaurant that was attached to this venue, and luckily a few of the kitchen guys had not gone home yet. And I was like, hey, if I give you some cash right now, can you drive these 2 vans into town and then drive them back and do that one more time until all the guests are back in the town? And they were like, yeah, cool. There were like little instances that happened, but I still loved that wedding because the bride and the groom were phenomenal.